Welcome to the Entrepreneur Trip Podcast with X.T.C. I'm Shalonda.
I'm Tristan.
And I'm Chris.
As an entrepreneur starting or growing your business, you may have a destination, but the journey getting there can be a trip. We want to be your travel companions and inject a dose of X.T.C as we explore real-life conversations about navigating the world of entrepreneurship in the U.S. and the Caribbean. Come take this trip with us.
Hello, trippers. How are you? We are excited to be here, I think. So, Shalonda, Tristan, how you doing today?
Doing well. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm so excited. I'm hungry.
I just love how Tristan shows his excitement. Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, awesome. Well, Tristan, you're hungry. We're going to feed you some amazing information here today. As we are talking about networking, this is episode 3 of this series. And today we're going to be talking about the collective, so beyond circle and global, and getting out of your comfort zone. Yes, that's right. Networking can be uncomfortable, but we have to do it because that's how we feed ourselves, right, Tristan?
Ain't never told a lie a day in your life.
Out of our little bubble. I like my little bubble.
So the bubble is for connecting with the people after you've met them, and yes,
bigger bubbles.
Bigger bubbles.
Bubble bigger. Make my bubble bigger. Say that 3 times fast, why don't you?
So, I'll let the audience do that. I'm not. But all right, I'm going to start off here with so this is from the Harvard Business Review. An article about start networking with people outside of your industry. So Harvard Business Review recommends basically a few steps of kind of how to kind of do a self-assessment and then how to make an intentional effort to start networking. So the first thing you need to do, just like in starting a business, kind of doing your analysis of the marketplace, doing your inventory of your existing connections. So they talk about you need to have a balance of both bonding capital and bridging capital. So that is bonding capital is relationships based respectively on your commonalities. And then bridging capital is relationships built across differences. So the people who are not like you or are doing something different than you, but who you can still engage with and have opportunities with. So they recommend doing this assessment with identifying who are the 5 to 10 people you spend the most of your time with, and then making a list of your outer circle. So the 5 to 10 people are your inner circle, and then your outer circle, the 50 or so people who make the most impact on your professional life. If you are weighted more than 70% on either the 5 to 10 people in your inner circle, or weighted more than 70% on the 50 or so people on your outer circle, then it's time to start diversifying your network, and that's kind of a sign that you need to get out there. So if 85% of your network is all marketers and you're a marketer, you're kind of saturating that market per se, and you need to start getting out and branching out.
Thanks for that clarification.
No.
I was over here.
I'm here taking notes, man. This is like some...
I see you. I felt it was like a network accounting class. It was like minds and bridges. I was like, oh shit! We about to make some money. And then you got me looking at my 5 people. I was like, well, 2 to 5 people is already on screen. Who's my other 3?
Yep. So the next thing they recommend is basically to put networking on your schedule. And that is networking often becomes one of the first things when you're really busy to get pushed aside and be like, oh, I have all this going on, so I can't attend that event. Or I can't join that webinar because I have to finish, writing these notes or composing these emails or what have you. So basically to make it a priority and to not let it be something that you can be, can be rescheduled or what have you, to show up when you're going to network and actually make an intention to do that consistently or on a regular basis. The next thing is to ask for recommendations. So especially starting out, almost every one's network is overweight with people like themselves. Like we were talking about, if you're a marketer, and all your 85% of your market is other marketers, then to start reaching out to other people that who are doing different things. And you can be intentional. Say, hey, I'm looking for, to connect with angel investors or videographers or somebody to help me organize my business. Do you're in this space? Is there anybody that you can connect me with, or create an introduction? So to try to get those warm leads through people you already know. And then the last thing that they kind of recommend just taking note of is to not look for immediate returns. And I think that's one of the biggest turnoffs for people, a reason why, like, well, hey, I'm not a good networker, or networking doesn't work for me. And I think, and this is not something that they said, but something that has worked really well for me is the strategy in which you go into a conversation with. So certainly if we're networking professionally, especially for the people who aren't players who are like, oh yes, like networking event, let's go. If you're the more hesitant or cautious ones to say, like, I really don't want to go, but I know I have to do this.
Right.
To connect with people, yes, you want that business return, so to know what they are doing in their current job role and how that might interact with your job role for a potential collaboration. But going beyond that to get to know who that person is, as an individual, and as well as what their aspirations are. So, I haven't done a whole lot of in-person networking since COVID, but pre-COVID, I would ask people, they would tell me they sell insurance or what have you. And that might not have had anything to do with what I was doing, but I might be like, well, so how do you like selling insurance? Is that, is that what you're passionate about doing? And 9 times out of 10, what they were doing was something that they might have enjoyed, but that they're like, well, yeah, I'm doing this for now, but I really want to do this, or I'm hoping to accomplish this someday. And for me, that is always those kind of interactions where they might have sold insurance, so I didn't connect with them that day. But a couple months down the road, I might have had a project come up where it needed somebody who, did this other thing that this person said they were passionate about. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, I remember this guy who sold insurance, but he said he was interested in getting into this, or was doing this on the side. So I've called people, or reconnected with them on things that had nothing to do with what they did when I met them, in terms of, with their professional career. So I think Tristan mentioned this in our first episode of this series, but really getting to know the person for those longer term relationships and trying to go deeper than just the surface level career, and where I really focus on their passion. Tristan, you look like you want to say something here.
No, I was just laughing because I really like how you brought that home. So you see when you were like, I know the guy said he was selling insurance, and you ask him like what it is that he's really interested in, and he might have been like, man, I'm interested in, like, people are interested in some wild, crazy stuff. And until you get there, like, if you don't, doing videos have made me respect a lot of things I just really never thought like would have been a thing. So imagine if he was like, man, I just love farming frogs. And I'm like, this guy, I've been on shoots, and then they'll be like, yo, we needed these frogs. Like, if we just had some frogs, that would have set it off. Could you imagine you being like, I know, God, I got some frogs. Like, I'm telling you, I've been on productions and they're like, yo, we needed I was working on a Tim Duncan documentary, and they were taking out a fence, and they were like, yo, we need like a wire cutter and a chainsaw, because we were by Shabert. This is before they cleared the whole court. They're like, yeah, we need a chainsaw, but nobody ain't got no chainsaw, and ain't got this stuff. I was like, I don't know, guy. Could be here tomorrow. Oh, you say you want to know? Hey, yo, Junior, what you doing right now? Me with some shoestring, a chainsaw. and a kite. And it's just that it's just that wild. But the people that you meet that are like these professional capacities, or like sometimes we look at them as like boring jobs, you would never imagine what it is that they're really into,
Mm-hmm.
and how it is. Well, for production, just creating that network, meeting them, how it adds so much more value
Mm-hmm.
to what it is that we're doing. So
Mhm.
now I know someone that could bring frogs to a set, and
Yep.
he's not just bringing them, but he's gonna have them croak. They're gonna jump when you need them to. Like when you doing this scene, like it's
They
there.
train frogs.
They, and you're like, who the hell trained frogs? But because it just what you were saying just resonated so much, because I've thought about like those experiences where it's like you'll be like, who the hell has that? And then like, I know I gotta have that.
Yep.
Like,
Mhm.
And
But I
again,
think that's
it might not be immediate. It could be down the road
uh,
that then all of a
down,
sudden you meet
yep.
a guy who has frogs, and you're like, man, I just wish I knew somebody who was passionate about training frogs.
You
but I
be
think
on
that
set there, like, go
I
ahead.
think
I'm
that's one
sorry.
of the benefits of networking, though,
Hmm.
right? Is that you're building your social capital,
Hmm.
right? And for those of us who follow the whole DE&I space, the whole
Yep.
conversation buzzword is building social capital and building generational wealth, right?
Yep.
But when you network, to your point, is you're building those connections not with an intent to get something, but you continue to nurture them because there's something there.
Right.
So that when you do need somebody who has trained frogs that you need for your video shoot, you know exactly who to call because you've taken the time to make that connection, nurture that relationship, so that when you do call, they're like, Tristan, I got you. I'll bring in my frogs tomorrow, right?
So,
That's building social capital. And that's one of the huge benefits for networking,
Hmm.
you know?
And so I guess we can jump in here. So there was a another article, 5 tips for networking outside of your company by York Solutions. So here's kind of uh, that was Harvard Business Review was starting out. How do you assess your network? Start thinking about networking. So now here's how you actually place yourself into positions to build these networks that may be advantageous to you. So the first one was join a board or an association. So they
I'm
say
going
that
to say that. Yeah.
so stay in tune with what's going on in your industry by joining professional associations or clubs. And the one that has worked amazingly for me is joining a nonprofit board as another way to make helpful connections and strengthen your skills. And for me, nonprofits are built up of, especially the boards are built up of, different leaders from the community who are involved in various aspects to round out the board and diversify what the board is able to do or bring to the table. And a lot of times, people on nonprofit boards, once you're kind of in that realm, you are likely on the, serving on the board or impacting in some way other nonprofits.
Mhm.
I very rarely meet somebody who's like only volunteers with one nonprofit. If they're on the board, they're on the board of 3. And
Right.
a lot of those times, those are the connections that start to really build yourself, and you can join a board where, as a regular networking event, you're kind of there on behalf of your company.
Mhm.
As a nonprofit board member, yeah, your status in the company may be an element to you getting that position or that role, but you might also be on a board just offering a skill set or a set of values that
yep.
necessarily aren't related directly to your company. So it's more that those passion things. You might join a nonprofit saying I train frogs, and I not my, you're not there on behalf of your insurance company. And so
Mhm.
people are meeting you on different ways, and then just those networks build out. So that's been my experience, as one of the best things for me is nonprofit boards as a great way to start out with your networking. The other one is if entrepreneurs obviously take different routes to becoming entrepreneurs, but if you did go to a college or high school or whatever, utilizing your alumni network. So connect with your school's alumni, both at formal associations and in online groups. A lot of them have LinkedIn groups and different Facebook
Mhm.
groups that you can join, different mixers and stuff, even virtual ones I've seen. So that's a great way to get started. because you have that commonality of like, hey, we went to this school, even if we didn't know each other, people will
Right.
welcome an invitation to somebody else who graduated from that school more often than not. Attending meetings or conferences. So obviously both within your field or sometimes things that are even just loosely related to your field, or things you would like to, different industries you like to get into as a videographer, say Tristan, to be like, hey, I want to start doing, real estate videos. So I'm going to go to a real estate conference, where you're offering a skill set that is different than the majority of the people attending. So that's a great way to get involved. Getting active both online and in person, as we talked about in the last episode. So networking activities of LinkedIn and Facebook, different webinars, etc. Following thought leaders, and I think you mentioned, Shalonda, Kelly Burton's Kelly Mondays with Kelly, and how that group just kind of grew as people connecting and building relationships through that. And in person as well, even there's like meetup.com and stuff where based on just different passion projects, you can show up and, hey, I love kayaking. You all go kayaking and you make professional connections through that, just as a personal experience. And then lastly was number 5 was investing in a cause you care about. So volunteering again for charity events, attending fundraisers, or offering your pro bono skills to a nonprofit, even if you're not serving on the board, but just entrenching yourself in other circles and adding value before you're asking for a return. I think we had talked about, big turnoff is the no man is the immediate sales call where like somebody's trying to sell you something. But if
Tristan, you see Chris picked up the lingo, right? Yes, you have
I hear the no man.
in no time. There you go, Chris.
Ain't got no disconnect here.
But
Awesome, I love it.
but yeah, so just again, adding value where you can. So doing a pro bono service, can still be a tax write-off. You can say this would be the cost of my services. You do an in-kind, you get that donation for taxes and stuff, but you're also inviting yourself into a community where you're able to add, or a company or a network of people that you're able to add value. So any thoughts on kind of those ways or experiences that you two have had in terms of how you got started or how you kind of position yourself into networking opportunities?
T before X?
T before S? All right. Go ahead.
Or would you like X to go first?
Could we flip? No, so one of the things that came to mind is that I believe even up to last year, we were speaking about in the last podcast about like the networks that we've attended, and you just brought something to my mind, and that's there was a clothing workshop, an apparel workshop that they were doing, and I had nothing to do with it. I remember I came home and I kept sitting through these like 3 to 4 hour seminars, and I don't sell clothes. But what the part that people don't really see is that in that aspect, I was looking at my new target audience, what it is that these individuals may need. And that's part of my networking, I guess, is that I attend a bunch of things that seem to be like completely unrelated or things that might feel like I like to go to things that I feel like I would not have any interest in, because then you meet someone that either kind of helps rope you in, or you know for sure that's definitely not what you're interested in. But when I go there with the expectation that I can provide a service to at least 1 or 2 people here, they're gonna need commercials. They're gonna need pictures. They might want something else. So when they start to talk about the marketing, I sit there with the pad and I'm like, all right, Shalon seems like she really wants XYZ done. What is the service I could provide for Shalonda? So by the time we're finished with the seminar, I already know who and what services I want to provide to them. And now it's catered to because I'm very attentive and listening to what it is that you're saying that your needs are. So now you might
Mm-hmm.
have a website, and you're like, yeah, I have the clothes, but you don't have the pictures to go on the website. Or I have Facebook, and you wanted these images for branding or whatever it is. But that's how it is. I've been making my network more complete.
Mm.
Toss over to you,
Mm.
Shalanda.
Well, when Uncle Chris started the conversation, I was taking copious notes. And what resonated with me was that binding
Mm-hmm.
versus bridging.
Bridging.
And so I was like, 5 to 10 people in my binding, or those relationships that we have commonality, or my bridging relationships other than in the field that I'm in. And I think it's something that you have to assess regularly. And the reason why I say that is I did bonding 5 to 10 is my usual network. I have my family members. I have you guys. I have a group in Orlando, a really close knit group in Orlando, a close knit group in Minnesota. That's my bonding,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then I looked at bridging and I was like, what are all the possible areas that I've been bridging? So when I started my PhD in industrial organizational psychology, I was not necessarily in that field. I was on the perimeter
Mm-hmm.
of that field.
Right.
And so I made a conscious decision to join the Greater Orlando Organizational Development Network, right? Because IO includes OD, or industrial organizational psychology, includes organizational development, coaching, learning and development, all
Mm-hmm.
of those assets. So that was a bridging opportunity for me, because now I'm interacting with practitioners and individuals that are in the field
Yep.
that I'm studying but have not yet practiced, right? So I had already had like my healthcare network and all of that stuff. Now, 3 years later, I'm the co-president of that organization. So those individuals who initially were bridge
Mm-hmm.
contacts,
Mm.
many of them on the board are now my bonding
Yep.
contacts, right?
Yep.
Because we've gotten to know each other. We've done things together. We've had lunch together. When I go up to Orlando, those are the
Coffee.
girls I call and say, hey, can we? No, usually we have something a little bit stronger, but yeah, usually we go out for drinks, like the real stuff. But it's still bonding, right?
Right.
It's still bonding. But to your point, volunteering or finding where you can contribute within the community, or as a business doing a corporate responsibility strategy where you can get involved in helping nonprofits, to your point, Chris, are ways to get out there. Me, I network with a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as you were talking, I was like, what are all the bridging areas? I spoke about the Organizational Development Network. There's the SHROM, Society of Healthcare Resource Management. There's a VA chapter here that I was involved with, and I need to connect back with them. I used to be a member of Toastmasters, which is international. I was part of a coaching community in Minnesota. I was part of the Forum on Workplace Inclusion, right, where I've had podcasts that I've spoken to for them, in addition to entrepreneurship, marketing, coaching. So when you do that exercise, I did that exercise quickly as you were talking. I was like, wait a minute, I'm a little bit diversified in my, kind of proud of myself. But yeah, it's a really good exercise that I would encourage our listeners to try, is to look at your bonding versus your
Yep.
bridging, and looking at that 50% and seeing, where people fall.
Yep.
And how you can expand your network. So my bubble is not as little as I thought. I kind of got a big bubble. I'm kind of excited. Right.
And Shalanda, I really like what you said there as far as the reassessing that, or doing that strategy, or that exercise, regularly, because I think to a point there, and I notice even myself, just as my personality and as a Taurus or whatever, like I have periods of time where I am very much more outgoing and like, all right, let's do this. I'm going to conquer the world. What projects can I get involved with? Like, yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do that. And then all of a sudden I get my plate overflowed and I'm like, no, I can't do anything. And I kind of crawl back into a hole a little bit.
Next way.
Thought about that.
So, somewhat similarly with networking, I feel like you kind of go through these phases of, okay, like I need to, I have my 5 to 10 or whatever. I need to start bridging, and
Right.
going outside, and but then to your point, a lot of those bridging contacts then become your
Mhm.
bonding contacts. And then so you kind of have to do that exercise again. So there's just that like cycle or that ebb and flow that kind of happens.
Right.
And I never even thought of it that way. I thought of more of a starting out, but yeah, I think that is something we go through regularly because even you, Shalonda, you were a bridging contact, and now you're a bonding contact, and same with you, Tristan. I
I'm a
met
bro now.
right. Tristan, I met you through Shalonda, so and
Right.
now I'm like, oh, I need to start like networking again. And like I said, for the next series, I'll be more out there on LinkedIn and everything like that.
Now
And
you're Uncle Chris.
exactly.
Now you're Uncle
Now you're Uncle
Chris.
Chris. And I just want to show you guys something too. Like what I've learned from you guys is that a lot of times we think of networking as something that's probably thrown at us or something that we're thrown into.
Hmm.
What I really got from this part of the conversation, and Shalana spoke about it in the previous episode, is you could be strategic about your networking. You see
Yep.
what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be things that you don't like or events that you don't want to go to. We could pick what the hell we want to go to.
Yep.
You could pick whatever it is that you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that we might have to do for work or whatever else that might make that situation force. But one of my takeaways is definitely we could pick and choose whatever it is that we want to go to, and we don't have to go to anything we don't want to.
Yep.
So I like that, Chris. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other last words or golden nuggets to leave our fellow trippers with?
Well, you know what? I just have to say that I really enjoyed this topic because I think networking for a lot of people is just really scary.
Okay.
If you're not an extrovert, it's almost like it's something that you have to entice yourself to do.
Hmm.
And I hope that we've shared the benefits and it's made it less scary for the listening audience, especially as entrepreneurs. If you're a solopreneur like me, I work a lot of the time by myself, and the only interaction is I have through a screen or if I go out to a meeting, right? Or
Yep.
I force myself to get out. Um, but to the point is, here it is. I have my two bros, one from St. Croix, one I met in Orlando, now up in Boston,
Hmm.
that we're doing this bonding together. And I would encourage listeners, if you really want to be a tripper, reach out to us
Yep.
because we want to make sure that you're not alone. That's all part of the networking. If we've said something that resonates with you, and for me, especially, I'm open to having sidebar conversations and connecting with people. That's
Likewise.
how we learn and we grow. I find that to be that makes life interesting, and I like the one-on-one more than the walking into the big
Right.
room with a bunch
Yeah.
of people or going online on a webinar where there are 50 people. That's a little overwhelming. I prefer those one-on-one interactions. So yeah, hit me up, trippers. Hit us up. We're part of your network.
Tristan, any
Well, for
golden
me,
nuggets?
yeah. Well, for me, what I like about this conversation is again like it's and it goes to your topic of making everything complete. We've gotten this holistic view of what it is to network. It reminds me of the conversation about milestones and how sometimes you meet someone and you might have initially met them for whatever reason, but now that relationship has changed and now later on they can serve a new purpose. And it just like again the collective of
Hmm.
growth is what
Mm-hmm.
it is that I'm really pulling from this conversation. Your bond, your bridging, it that beginning portion just it just hit me. Let your network determine your net worth,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I felt about it. Right, like right off the bat, I was like, ooh. I was
Hmm.
like, let me scribble. All right, I see this. I understand how this is going. Oh, I really like the bridging aspect because it's completely true. we meet people, and you do have to bridge those gaps. And sometimes it's not even you that have to bridge those
Yep.
gaps. Sometimes we have people like Shalanda that bridge those gaps for
The
us.
cat for
Before,
us.
I had a whole criteria to do before I could meet you, Chris. It was like, look, I got a brother from another mother. You're not gonna meet him unless I know, like, you could fulfill whatever it is our needs are. Like, this is not BS. Chris is somebody that's very important to us, and that's what it is. Is that so? When you network, you network, and these people become a part of our inner circle. They become part of our
Yep.
family. So now what we do is that we try to protect them, and this is all from this conversation as to bringing things together as a collective. It's where now we're safeguarding each other, and it's like, look, all right, Tristan, videos, Chris, do videos.
Yep.
I really want you guys to connect. However, I want to make sure that we're a part of this network together. So it's not a situation now where Shalana's bringing us in and I've already outgrown this portion. Well, you know what?
Yep.
You did documentaries. I like the outlook on this. We're talking about the podcast. I was like, ooh, all right. You do more. I don't want to say you do more like webcams, like this switching that you guys are seeing, the boxes that you're seeing. This is a credit to what Chris does. In my field, I do it a little different. We deal with stuff like a little more full screen, more on the TV side. However, for me, this is a crossover of
Mm-hmm.
what it is things are to look like.
We
I want to
learn
say in the
from each
future,
other.
everything is becoming more user friendly, and just working and talking with Chris about equipment, we're bridging gaps, we're creating and sharing new ideas, creating simple solutions to complex problems, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what networking is all about. So now my now from this bond, I'm about to have more bridges. Now we're gonna have to figure out what it is that we want to do, and we might meet somebody. Sammy, I've known of Sammy, haven't really had that kind of conversation with
Mm-hmm.
Sammy, and Sammy's on season 1. Go check that out. Sammy's kicking some real nuggets. If y'all want nuggets, y'all gonna get it, and that's just it. It's again, it's our collective. It's about every time we reach this episode, it touches nerves. It really sparks the fact that I want to say we know what it is that we're doing. And to the viewer, it might seem a little weird. Like, what does he mean? Like, they're the professionals. Like, yeah, we are the professionals, but we're the ones living it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a living document. This is our embodiment of what it is that we do every day. So it's not like we're like, oh wait, Shalana, it's 5 o'clock. Let's write this script, and in 3, 2, crack a joke here, laugh there. Like, look at every third episode right before the guest. You're going to see how we bring this back together. We're tripping with you. We are tripping with you. We're growing with you. You're a part of our experience. And like Shalana said, just drop a comment, talk to us, and we're glad to get back to you. I overdo it though. I will admit I do overdo it. If you say something, I'll reach out. If you're someplace else, I'll try to accommodate whatever it is. And that's just it. I'll make Uncle Chris clean out the basement, and you have someplace to stay when you're on the northeastern side. Like, that's what we do because this is
Don't
a
do that.
part
Don't
of
do
our
that.
network. It's a part of our growth. And I'm not going to take up no more time. Look at them; they're already cracking out. They're tripping out. Chris, close the show. Uncle Chris.
Tristan's basement is also available for you tripping
Well,
out.
the funny thing about that, Chris, is in the Virgin Islands, we don't have basements. We have
Right.
cisterns. And we don't want to drown any of our trippers.
So I'm the default person just because I have the basement.
Default.
I thought we were protecting our network, but
I know,
You're
right?
right. So let's share it. So if you want a place in the Virgin Islands with a view, I know Shalana, we're gonna get you hooked up with
Oh, yeah.
that.
All right. Well, I will wrap this up. So my last thoughts here, just based on what you two were saying, and I did. So first, I want to make a clarification. We said, you can basically enter networking as in whatever way feels comfortable for you. But as entrepreneurs, I want to challenge our trippers that networking is not an option. So you have to get out of your comfort zone to start
There you go.
networking. But the way in which you go about that networking can be diversified based on the reasons or the ways that we talked about here on this episode. And then there was a second thing I had.
Don't worry. I was here like, you better listen to Uncle Chris.
Oh,
Listen
yes.
to Uncle Chris.
I know. I got it. I'm coming back. And this was based on, I think, something you were saying here, Tristan, and how we've kind of connected each other. And we mentioned this with the frogs on the last episode. But one thing not to get lost on an aspect of networking is the importance of the connector. One of the ways in which I have been very successful in networking, or kind of left an impact on people, because it's not what you said or did, it's how you made them feel. Ralph Waldo Emerson, I want to say. But it's the connector is, the person that is like, hey, I cannot add value to you right now, or can't, envision how I can help you at the moment, but I do know somebody who can. And
Right.
you have to protect those people. Don't just throw them to somebody who, seems shady or what have you. But if it's somebody that you think you can make an honest connection with and add value to two other people, regardless of how that impacts you, or, if you might not be involved at all. But, hey, I know somebody that does this, and I know you're interested in this, so let me create that introduction. And through doing that time and time again, it's not an immediate return as we've discussed here, but that can yield results down the road. We're like, hey, no, I remember when you connected me with so-and-so a few years ago, we actually built this awesome project. And now we actually have an opportunity where we want to include you, because you helped bring us together, what have you. So being that connector and being known for that is an extremely valuable part of networking. So I do want to be respectful of our time here. We're a little over our intentional 30 minutes now. We're trying to get down to. So I think there's a lot of great information here. Again, please connect with us, any one of us or all of us, if you resonated with something here or want to discuss more. But other than that, we're going to be actually not next Tuesday, or yes, next Tuesday we have our suitcase story. And then we're going to be taking a little break before our season 2 here. But trippers, please don't fall off the bandwagon. We are here. We are just energizing ourselves and turning our bonding into binding and reaching out. So we will see you all next week for the last episode of season 1. So everybody have a great day.
See you on the next
Take
trip.
care. Thank you for taking this trip with us. We hope you had a great time. Join us every Tuesday for another dose of X.T.C. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and visit us at theentrepreneursstrip.com for more entrepreneurship tips and trips. See you next time.